Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Good morning, Tom. I know we're in different time zones, so I'm greeting you as well. This is a webinar brought to you by Cravea. We are discussing decoding the future of finance with AI. I would first like to thank everybody for taking a time out on a Saturday afternoon to join us, to be with us today. And we're really, really glad to see you. And this is especially for the students, the participants, the professionals, industry leaders who have come to join us at this platform. I know everybody understands what our theme is, decoding the future of finance. To give you a brief, first of all, over the next 60 minutes, we'll journey through the global trends and the road ahead as AI becomes deeply embedded in every profession. So now we see AI entering every field in every form. And to understand how we need to train ourselves, we are joining with our panelists, with our experts, to understand how AI will change the future of finance, especially, and how we need to prepare ourselves for this. This webinar is brought to you by Cravea. Cravea is a hub for skills training and upskilling for students and professionals. As an initiative to give back to the society, we are providing these knowledge training platforms where we are providing students and professionals with knowledge on current trends, on developments in the corporate sector, on understanding how to use AI and being better prepared with practical learning along with their academics. So to guide us on this, we have two esteemed panelists who have over 2 decades of experience in the real world leadership and experience in finance transformation, technology adoption, and strategy. Without wasting any time, I would like to introduce our two panelists. I would like to start with Zaheer. Good afternoon, Zaheer. Zaheer is our esteemed panelist for today. We have Zaheer, who is an accomplished chartered accountant with over 17 years of international experience in UK, India, Australia, and Bahrain. He has worked with globally recognized organizations like WNS, ENY, and UBS, and has deep knowledge across fields. He's a true blend of profession and passion because he loves teaching. He's also a teacher. He has over 10 years of experience in teaching as an ACCA faculty, and he has helped so many students prepare for a better, successful career. He's also an author with over 20 books to his name. So this is really multifaceted. And thank you so much, Zaheer, for taking time today to joining us, to helping students, professionals to understand how they need to move forward in their career. I welcome you today.
Thank you.
And we're really, really glad that you've taken this time out today to share your knowledge with us.
Thank you so much, Prerna. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and look forward to interacting with fellow panelists, Tom and the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Zaheer. Without much ado, I would like to welcome Tom. Tom, I am not even worthy to introduce you because you have such vast experience. Tom is over 40 years of experience in international experience, risk management, data management, integrations, project management. Tom has been over 23 years in GE Capital. As I know that you were one of the initial members and you've been there for 23 years with this vast experience. You've helped across continents and especially in Netherlands. You're currently the senior manager for data management and reporting at Altridis Collections. And Tom, you've been a leader in risk reporting, automation, credit decisions, and data quality governance. With this huge track record and this vast experience, Tom, we are so lucky and so blessed that we get to hear from you and you share your experience, because I know you've seen the evolution of finance right from the bookkeeping days to now where we are in AI and the whole transformation journey. So we're really lucky to have you. Thank you so much, Tom. And I know it's an early morning for you. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Prerna. Very much looking forward to have the discussion today. And indeed, I think when I started working, I think computers were like still rare. So most of the bookkeeping was done in like these huge physical ledgers. So from there to here, it's been a big jump, as you can imagine.
Wow, I am so happy for the students who are joining, the professionals who are joining, because there's so much to learn, there's so much to understand. And I think this webinar is really going to be an eye-opener for all of us, because we're going to see from your experience, and also it'll help in their future journeys as they enter the corporate world and their career. Okay. To open the conversation, I'd like to begin with a question. Before that, a small request to the audience. If you have any questions in the ongoing discussion, please drop the questions in the chat, and we will take all the questions towards the end of the conversation. You have an option to put your questions in the chat, and we can view your questions. So we will take this up as soon as the panelists are done with their inputs. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for being a wonderful audience. And to open the conversation, I'd like to begin with a question that sets the context for everyone in the room. If, for both of you, Tom, if you would like to start, if you had to explain the impact of AI or finance to a young professional or someone with absolutely no tech background, how would you do it and what would you say?
So for me, I think AI is the next level of automation that we see in finance, right? So as I said before, I started with like a physical journal where people started doing their bookkeeping. Then we got like the first spreadsheet, Lotus 123. We went into macros. We went then into robotics. And then I think the next thing that's coming now is AI. So I think the one thing you will see is that a lot of those simple tasks, the repetitive tasks, will be they'll be automated. I must say we do see in the world of terminology, we do see a lot of I call it AI washing, in the sense that everything that the machine decides now, 5 years ago we used to call it a macro, but now we call it AI, right? So, but really with the development of AI, you're going to see more and more of that automation taking place. And I think it's really important for everybody to understand that that's the trend that's happening, right? So depending on where you are in your career, I think you need to understand how this will impact your role and how you will address that for yourselves.
Wow, thank you so much, Tom. Zaheer, if you want to add on this question, how would you explain this to a non-tech background person? What is AI? How is it going to impact us?
So I think AI coming into our lives is as fundamental as how we have evolved as humans. We did not have computers, we did not have machines, we did not have cars, right? So all of this has happened over a course of time, and AI is as natural course of evolution for all of us. And we should all be ready for the fact that AI is also not going to be the last change that we all have to work with, right? We are probably working with different types of GPTs and LLMs today. It's going to be probably something very different in 10, 15, 20 years. In fact, at the pace that it's all changing, it can be in the next 5 years as well. So what I only have to tell the students that don't think AI to be something which is completely out of syllabus. This is how we are as humans. We have to keep adapting to the changes. AI is one of the changes, like we have seen in all these years, as we've evolved. And we have to only make sure that we understand, how this can really help us rather than treating it as a threat. We should start to see how we can use this to make sure that our lives are amplified, our impact is amplified.
I think that's well said. Zaheer, if I had to ask you, adding on to this question, what are the skills a finance professional in today's world needs to stay relevant in the AI driven world? Because there's everything to do with AI. So if I am a finance professional, I'm starting out, what other skills you recommend I need to add to my portfolio?
Sure. So look, I think, just to add to Tom, when I started my career in audits, things were still very manual. We were still supposed to pick up a sample of items from the long list of transactions that were given by the clients, and then we had to, do all these manual markings, different color codings. There is a red mark, there's a yellow mark, there is a right. So Tom recognizes all of these things the us auditors would do, right? But fast forward 20 years, when I look at it today, right, this is all done by the softwares. You use these analytical softwares that are available. It will do all this or all these analytical procedures for you. It will identify the trends, it will identify the outliers, it will tell you which place to look at, right? So I feel that all the monotonous, all the non-value add things, I feel the technology is now taking care of. Now what we should really do is, as we should have always done, is now add value back to the business, right? So previously the auditors, I'll stick to the audit example, right? We were ideally just trying to finish our audit and just say, oh, whether this is a true and fair or not. But now today the auditors are able to do a lot more than just helping with providing the opinion. We are able to now go back to the business and that, look, these are the things that you did not see, these are the areas where you can make improvements, these are the red flags for your businesses, right? And that's where you are able to truly add value to the whole ecosystem and not just one business, right? Because if the business improves, in their whole ecosystem, things starts to improve, right? So, and that's how I feel the finance is evolving. It's basically not just one single process, it's everything inside that ecosystem changing at a rapid speed.
That's really profound. Thank you so much, Zaheer. Tom, if I had to put this question, what is the common fear nowadays? Because I think this is something across sectors. The common fear that people have is, do you see AI augment human expertise or replace certain financial roles? Are there people losing jobs because of AI? Are we going to be losing our jobs? That's a fear that everybody has nowadays. And it's really, really prevalent in all sectors. So what would your advice be for this fear? Is it true? Is it valid?
And I think it's a perfect question, actually. But it's actually what you've seen throughout all the changes that have happened ever since the Industrial Revolution, right? People were scared when the trains were coming, right? And I think now people are scared because AI is coming. I think the one thing you're going to see with AI coming and becoming more mature is that, as Zaheer said, right, the simple roles, the monotonous tasks, the repetitive tasks, they will be done by the software, right? No doubt. Any role that is just like entering stuff or simply reconciling stuff, that role is probably going to be gone with development of AI. On the other hand, I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of new roles created as well. And sometimes it's difficult to imagine what those roles will be, right? But I think for me, the value add sits in the person that works with AI. Right. So in Zaheer example, during an audit, instead of sampling the data, you can now do like a full scale audit on the data. But I think at the end, ultimately concluding that something's wrong somewhere, AI will highlight where to look, and a human will decide what the outcome is there. So I think a lot of jobs will be gone, a lot of boring jobs will be gone, a lot more interesting jobs will be there. And I think it's really important for people to understand that that's the direction it's going in. And that's also important to understand why you need to start looking into how can I upskill myself into that area, because that's where really the added value is.
I think that's so valid. I think that's something upskilling has become a trend. And I think the awareness is coming now. Because earlier in the day, I don't think people thought of upskilling after they got a degree or after they got a certification from a university. That was enough. But the awareness is now where we need to do that. If I had to put this question to you, Zaheer, from your vantage point, do you see the relationship between domain expertise and AI evolving? Do you see that there'll be a right balance for today's professionals to go deeper in finance? So as we said that I need to evolve myself, I need to upskill. Should I be going deeper in finance, or should I be broadening my perspective and getting into technology, understanding technology better, maybe handling AI better? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I think I don't know if this is a very relevant example here, but look, when back in the day when humans were riding horse carts and horses, right? And we thought for the longest of the time that that was the only way to travel. And then come motor cars, and then it was not that the humans thought, oh, now the motor cars have come in, we will have to start making these motor cars. We had to just learn how to drive these motor cars, right? And humans obviously were able to drive to places that the horses could have never imagined. The same thing is right now. So it's not that, we have to start learning how to code these things, right? We just have to learn how to maybe use them. And again, you don't have to be an expert. Not everyone, who rides or drives is a Michael Schumacher out there, right? There will be experts who can do it. And then there are people who can barely make, like for myself, right? I can, I just want to get to, from my point A to point B. I
Yeah.
don't think I want to show off my driving skills to anyone, but it gets my job done. And I think that's what every student, every working professional needs to understand, is that use it as a technology, as a tool to help you get your work done. But that does not mean that you cannot, you can avoid being very good at IFRSs, or you can avoid being very good at interpretation of financial statements, or you can get away from understanding how a control weakness can impact the business, right? Those are your domain expertises, and you can never ever stay away. And Tom and I have discussed this previously. I've worked in organizations where we were able to automate work, right? But having said that, while those jobs were not being done, but there were still far more superior set of jobs that came out, which my teams had to do, right? So yes, we will take out all the weaknesses from the system, all the noise from the system, but yeah, you still have to work on the core areas. So anyone who thinks that, oh, I have to now stop studying accounts, finance, tax, and then only focus on learning AI,
Yeah.
it's going to be a huge mistake, right? So like I said, going back to, you don't have to start manufacturing your own motor vehicles. The motor vehicle is there, you have to still figure out where you want to go.
That's really well put. Tom, would you like to add anything? I thought you said that.
Well, to be honest, I think that's perfectly explained. And indeed, I think that the key thing here is like, I think in your introduction, in your question, you just asked like, get a degree and then stop, and the answer is no. To be honest, with or without AI, the answer is never stop learning, right?
Yeah.
Continue to learn is like a critical thing in life, and also it will also help you as a person to develop and grow. So, but indeed, it's you don't have to learn the technicalities of AI, but you need to learn how to operate it and how to use it to your benefit. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I think that whole excuse of skip education and get into AI and only do that will not work for anyone.
Exactly.
Okay, so as the technology is evolving, I think adaptability for people with the technology is what we need to understand. We need to adapt with what we are having to deal with. If we get a new technology coming up, we cannot be afraid, but we got to like pick it up, and the ones who do it will benefit. Okay, Zaheer, I have another add-on to this. If you could predict one breakthrough or one major financial innovation with AI that will unlock in the next decade, what do you think it'll be?
I think, it is only going to be around the speed at which we are able to do things correctly, right? That's what I feel is the only thing. For example, we have seen, the loan processing times, reduce from, let's say, months to weeks to now even minutes, right? I feel that will probably go down to seconds, right? And while it will go down to the seconds, being able to take an accurate decision is where the technology is going to come in play, right? Because we're not going to be able to do anything. Like, I cannot get creative around making my balance sheets. The balance sheets are going to be made the way they are, right? But yes, I can probably do a much better job in figuring out what my provisions are going to be, right? So I think in being able to take more correct or accurate decisions is where the technology is going to come to, right? Of course, there will be some shenanigans around what you call it, but I feel that it is the pace at which you are able to take accurate or correct decisions. That's where the technology is going to continue to make inroads.
I think the decision making is what determines this answer here. Okay.
Of course.
One more question. I will address this to Tom. Tom, from what you're observing in the professional community, whether it's young graduates, working professionals, or even senior leaders, and for someone who wants to pick the right course or the right program or the right skill, what is it that they should be looking for while making this decision, and to be sure that the learning actually benefits them in their future? So how will you describe the correct course, the correct skill that they need to add, and how will they filter this? because there are so many things in the market.
Exactly. And actually, and also bear in mind that developments are still going very, very quickly, right? So just to give you one example that I personally went through, back in 2019, I thought like, okay, I see AI is coming, so I subscribed to an AI course with MIT, a remote course, 6 weeks, pretty intense. It gave me a lot of background. And then after that, I thought I was like, okay, I'm well versed in the AI space. And then ChatGPT came out and the whole world was different,
Yeah.
right? So, and I think that's the one thing you'll see when it comes down to learning AI is like, it's as I said before, it's a continuous thing. It also depends a little bit on the level that you already have. So I would, there's a ton of material out there. So I would start with the basics, right? Start understanding a little bit about the mechanisms behind it, and then start looking for courses in the direction that you're interested in. But again, be aware that by the time you complete your course, it might have been outdated already, right? So it goes with such a pace at the moment. But for me, the key thing is the way I keep myself updated all the time. I've subscribed to a couple of newsletters from guys that I found interesting. I found them on LinkedIn. 80% of the newsletter is not interesting, but 20% is, right? And just read through and see and check for yourself. If a new GPT comes out, just quickly read some news about it, start playing with it. So it's I don't think there's like one course that will solve all your needs. It's more the process of like get in there and make sure you keep yourself up to date. I think that's the key thing as far as I'm concerned.
Zaheer, would you like to add to this? Anything?
No, I think Tom summarized it quite well. What I try to do, while I'm not a big fan of feed generated news, right? Because then what the feed generated news does is that if I was reading some type of news, it will just then constantly keep sending me, right? So when I started reading about that AI is going to take over, it started to scare the hell out of me every day, right? Every morning I'm looking at a new article saying that, oh, the humankind is doomed and the AI is going to take over, right? So I'm not a big fan of feed related, but I think at only for one thing that I currently use is that the feed can actually help you stay updated with anything that's coming in the market, right? So if you can be smart enough not to get swayed away by all the rhetoric around the fear and the hate and the greed, because that's what the algorithms do, right? They want to make sure that they're able to scare you enough so that you read those articles, right? So if you can make sure that you don't get carried away, then the feed can actually help you with all the latest that's happening. So like Tom said, I use a Google feed that continuously tells me throughout the day that this is happening in the world of AI, or this has come in, this is the new LLM, or this is the new challenge around the GPT world, etc. So I think that can really help you stay updated easily, I think.
That's perfect. I think the open mind factor is what we need to keep in check. I mean, we cannot have that fear and block ourselves from learning ahead. And it really never stops, because AI is continuously disruptive and self-destructive in a sense, where it's continuously bringing out new levels. So we have to keep updated, and it's something that depends on an individual. With the internet, I think learning never stops, and it's pretty accessible. So that's great, right?
Agree, absolutely.
One last question for both of you. We've spoken about the opportunities, the challenges, the direction where the industry is going. On a personal level, as a leader, you've seen finance evolve over decades with the vast experience. What excites you the most about the future of finance with AI? And if you have any concerns regarding AI? If you could start, Zaheer.
Sure. I think, like I said earlier, I've seen, this was not called AI. It was just pure automation and business process improvements and efficiencies back in the day. So, like I said, the terms will keep changing, right? Otherwise, the algorithms today, we used to call it a fuzzy logic back in the day, right? And it will pick up, all the possible relationships. So like I said, it's what you need to do, and you also rightly said, Prerna, is that if you keep your open mind and if you don't think that, oh, I have everything under my belt and I'm not going to learn anything today, then that's where the big problem arises. And I mentioned this earlier when we were speaking, is that even I will find time, even if it's just plain vanilla YouTube videos, to help me figure out how Python works, right? Or how can Power BI make my life easier as a CFO
Easier.
at FPA, right? Because while we are an education company, but that does not mean that we cannot use Power BI for our charts to show our students' performance, etc., right? So the tools can be used in any form, right? It is just that you
Yes.
need to be open to figure out how you can leverage it. So this is one skill that I think that students need to really work upon, is that try and think beyond, think out of the box. I use this is my uh, patented thing, that don't accept the status quo, right? Keep figuring out what you can do differently, and then this technology can really help you there, right? So as long as you are able to make sure that you leverage the technology and use it in your day-to-day lives, because sometimes these especially working professionals would come to me, oh, my job has become so boring, I'm doing the same thing for the last so many years. And my question to them is that, who told you to do the same thing for the last 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like if I had chosen to do the same thing, I would have been doing, but I did not do the same thing. I started with accounting, and so I started in fact with auditing at EY, then I moved into accounts at various MNCs, then I moved to finance at Union Bank of Switzerland. Now I'm a CFO and I'm an academic, right? So it's the change has
Yeah.
to be come from you. No one's going to come and tell you that, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's where that I don't know if it's just intrinsic, or you have to develop it, but people have to work on that. I feel that's one thing that can really set you apart. No boss, no mentor is gonna come and tell you do this, right? It has to come from
Yeah.
you.
I think that's really well said. Thank you so much, Zaheer. Tom, the same question to you. What is it after these decades of experience? What is the fact about AI that excites you? And if you have any concerns regarding AI?
I think for me, it looks like all good, because I think what AI is going to bring us is it's going to take away a lot of boring stuff that people, as Sahir said, that people have been doing for 15 years. And I must say, one thing I'm always getting so frustrated about is like boring, repetitive tasks. So if AI is going to take that away from me, great. I really love that. I think I'm a little bit skeptical on AI taking over everything. I think the one thing hasn't come up yet in the discussion, but I think one of the things that you also need to do is, when you learn about AI, also whatever you read, take it with a pinch of salt. Think about it for yourself. Like, to what extent is this marketing talk that you're looking at, and what's real, right? The example that I always give is like the Tesla self-driving car, right? That was supposed to be there in 2015, and then in 2017, and the full, complete self-driving car still not there to the fullest extent, right? I think what you see with AI is the first, the easy 80%. I think that's probably already done. I think the last 20% will go at a slowing pace, because it's more complex at all. But in general, I see it as a huge opportunity to increase productivity, to make our life more interesting. And the last thing I want to add to Sahir's point as well is like that continuous learning. That's not necessarily AI based, right? That just counts for everything that you do in life. Make sure, if you're in a role for 10 years doing the same thing, that's not how you build an interesting career, right? You push yourself, right? Take on new challenges. If you take on a new challenge, make sure there's plenty of stuff that you can learn in that new challenge. Makes your life more interesting, helps you develop as a person. So I think that's important. When it comes to AI, again, just coming back to the learning thing, don't wait for people to tell you what you need to learn. Just take the bull by the horns, go after it yourself. right? Nobody's going to tell you, like Zaheer said about, like, nobody's going to tell you to change what you were doing. It's the same thing with learning AI. Nobody's going to give you a course, or maybe in 2 years' time you get a course that's outdated by the time you finish it. Go and hunt for it yourself, and be ready for what's coming.
Thank you so much, Tom. That was really inspiring. I think the fact that we really need to keep ourselves so open-minded and open to change, in fact. I think both of you have really put this up and summed it up so well. This is almost like a masterclass in finance, in accounting, and managing AI with that. I would now like to just keep the platform open for questions. We do have a question here from Shekhar in our chat. So I'll just read out the question. Shekhar says that I have a question because finance numbers are not quite confidential. What do you think? How secure AI is using finance and accounting? It's a good one. Anybody would like to take this?
I can take that if you want, because I've only just spoken about it day before. So Shekhar, that's a very good question. And I was just recently another seminar with my ex-colleague and a very good friend now. He's a partner at a Big Four, right? And this thing came up, right? That what if, we were using clients' data and we put it in GPT and we told it to, that do me some crazy analytics, right? Now, couple of things here, and Tom actually mentioned it as well, that take it with a pinch of salt, because look, while AI is very good, but you still need to keep your professional skepticism, as we say in audit, right? You need to ensure that you still have a questioning mind. So if you get some data from GPT, you can never be 100% sure it is absolutely correct. If I can quote an example, recently in Australia, one of the big fours, right? I will not say the name, but one of the big fours, right? They fell into trouble with the government because the one of the analysts who was supposed to do a report for the government, they used GPT to make that report, right? And for that same report, they charged $450,000 to the government. Now, when the government analysts went through the report, they saw references which were completely imaginary. There was no author like that. There were no researches done like that. So GPT can be very creative sometimes. So you got to be very careful if you actually use, especially for some very hardcore technical work, you need to be slightly careful there. And secondly, companies like these big fours, they will also have their own GPTs. Like I came to know about this when I was on this seminar, that they're not using our regular Gemini and Perplexity, and they are using their own GPTs, which has got their own set of controls, etc. Right? So to your answer, the answer to your question is not straightforward, unfortunately, Shekhar. But all I can say is that if you are going to use it, don't use confidential data, first of all, because you don't want your data to go to some other people who are doing the similar query later on. Right. So don't go and use confidential data on the GPTs. And secondly, when you do use GPT for any high-end technical work, always double check.
That's fair. I think you cannot take that risk with
Yeah.
confidential stuff. So yes, you will use your mind, your logic. Of course, ChatGPT is very helpful for your basic understanding for a basic research level. Tom, any points to add on this one?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I was thinking about an example that we're doing in my company at the moment. We are working on some technology to record phone calls and summarize them and follow up and put in follow-up actions automatically into the system, etc., etc. And what we do is, and I think that's something that that Microsoft offers through their Copilot, is like a local Copilot. So to Zaheer's earlier point, don't use the generic GPT that's out there, because it will open up your data for everybody, right? But there are definitely opportunities to have a closed LLM for your company only. So I think that's key to bear in mind.
Thank you so much, Tom. There's a message for us listening to the experts. This is Rachna, that listening to the experts about not fearing AI makes us more hopeful. Thank you. So I think the fears were quite genuine, and I think it really makes people relax now. And it's not really directly affecting you. Yeah, of course, you need to take the steps that I mentioned. Okay, Shekhar thanks us for the explanation. And he also mentioned then do you think there should be regulations around it?
Tom, you want to take that? I think.
Sure.
Yeah, I think, and again, I think regulations in this space, I think you see that a little bit in Europe, right? The EU
Yeah.
has come up with like the AI Act. I can't recall now what the official name is, but where it starts looking at like what can be done, what cannot be done. I think the challenge that we see with those regulations is that if they're not similar worldwide, you're going to get some weird, we can do this here, we can do that there. It's a little bit what we also see with privacy regulations in GDPR in the EU space versus the rest of the world, which as a European, I think it's good that we do it. It's a lot of, but it's a lot of challenge when you have data that goes across one continent versus the other continent. So I would like to see at least some regulation on this. Not sure how simple it would be to get that on a global scale, though.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Zaheer, anything to add on this?
No, I'm completely agreeing with Tom because I knew that Europe is the only continent that has actually put in some tough regulations. Otherwise, even the US or most of Asia, we are yet to catch up on the regulations. But then he's also pointed a very pertinent point is that when you put regulations in, it may sometimes limit the capabilities of the technology. That's where the European markets are very, very careful and also skeptic that if we bring a lot of regulations, because then you will have China doing whatever they want with the technology, and then you have the US doing whatever they want with the technology. So the Europe does not want to stay back too far in the race to become the best at AI. So look, I think this is a very mushy kind of topic. There's no clear, there's a lot of gray there. But yeah, I also believe that the regulations need to be there, especially if you can use AI to mask people's face and you can come with deep fakes, etc. I feel there is definitely need for a strong regulation so that people's lives cannot be impacted in a negative manner, right? And definitely data protection needs to be there in as well.
Of course. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you both of you for answering this question. We have one more question from Anjali. I am an APAR specialist. As you mentioned, routine tasks are going to be redundant. What should I focus on as I have been doing this for a decade now? So I think that's a concern. What would you suggest?
Tom is an AR specialist. I'm sure he's been around for a long time.
Exactly. I've been in AR myself for quite a long time. So my advice here would be, so AR consists out of a lot of routine tasks. Those tasks will go away, but I can guarantee you that like your sensitive discussions with your top end customers will still be there for a human. Right. Yes, all those small companies that you might give a call now or might send a letter to, that will be taken care of by AI, no doubt. I think the high value customers, I think people in the business will be very, very skeptical about giving that to AI because you don't want a mistake in AI to ruin your relationship with such an important customer, right? So I really think that the added value that we talked about before, routine tasks will go, the added value, that's where you need to focus on and make sure you are ready for those type of discussions. So if you have been in AR for like 10 years and you're still in the small customer segment, try to get yourself upskilled so you can go to the strategic customer segment because that's where your role will still be. I think that's the advice that I can give.
Yeah, I think that's a very good advice in a nutshell. I think to upskill herself to kind of reach the high value customers and make herself indispensable in that role. I think that's great. I hope that answers your question, Anjali. We don't have any more questions. If anybody does have a question, you can still put that in the chat. We can give you some seconds if somebody still has a question.
I think while We are waiting, Prerna. I just want to add because I think the background that Anjali comes from. So I worked in that domain where we had people who were AP/AR specialists. So first of all, you're a specialist. That means you understand the AP/AR like no one else. So you should be first of all be comfortable that no one will be able to take away your job because you understand things that no one else understands about AP/AR. First of
Yeah.
all. But secondly, look, I don't think I don't like saving my job or trying to keep data with me so that I can save my job. So if I were you, I would probably find to even automate these things and figuring out a way where they don't need a specialist. Everything is seamless, everything is automated, right? I remember when we were doing VAT returns and we were trying to automate, from the team of some 20-30 people, we brought it down to 5-6. But the idea was always how do we get rid of the remaining 5-6 as well? It is completely seamless. So for every business, right, it is figuring out how everything is done 100% automatically, seamlessly. So if you are able to do that, Anjali, your business will value a lot more. And then what you can do is that once you've been able to do that, become a process expert on efficiencies, on doing projects, or forward integration your role, right? So move into controlling. Why just stick to APAR? Maybe move to FP&A because you understands APAR so well. You will now be able to control these expenses. You will be able to add a lot of insights about, like Tom said, if you understand these customers or type of customers, how about figuring out from your CFO what kind of payment terms you want, what kind of things that will make your business a lot more efficient, right? So move towards efficiency, what I would say.
That's brilliant advice. Thank you so much, Zaheer. I think that answers your question. Uh, Efficiency and of course value add and upskill yourself in the same sector. Of course, your knowledge is not waste, and I think it will just take you higher. All the best, Anjali, for this, and thank you for your question. We have one more question from Kanishk. Why AI is necessary for finance? Okay, that's pretty much answered. If anybody wants to add anything here. Oh,
I think,
so
in
yes.
all honesty, why AI is needed in finance. I think as a company, if you don't start exploring what AI can do for you as a business, you'll be out of business very soon because your competitors will become more efficient. Your competitors will be able to do a lot more things with a lot less people. You have to be part of that race. If you're not part of that race, you run the risk of becoming redundant.
Thank you, Tom. I think that's really well put and direct. It will take you out of business because this is something that everybody else is doing, and it will make your work faster. So people will value that. I think that answers your question, Kanishk. If any more questions, we have the last 2 minutes. I'll give you all 2 minutes. Any more questions? Okay, there's one last question that we can take up. That's Shekhar. When we read the news, companies are heavily investing in AI. How do you think it will benefit to the companies? Will the ROI be only based on firing resources or something else?
Look, I think, Shekhar, your concern around people being made redundant is not untrue. Of course, it's gonna take away jobs. I'll be lying to you if I tell you, all the jobs are safe. But like Tom said, only those jobs which were always supposed to be automated will get automated, right? These were not the jobs that people should be doing. I remember my accounts payable team back in the day, they used to look at one screen and they would look at all the data on that invoice, and then on the other screen there was an Oracle screen open, and then they will manually input all of that data, right? It was an absolute stupidity, right? That you're looking at one screen and then populating the data on the other one. Tom is laughing because he knows some of the companies that we've been working with, and he's found those processes to be there, right? And it was absolutely stupid, right? Over there, the skill that was was really valued is how quickly you can really do the number crunching. But I don't think so. That's what we humans are for. So as soon as we were able to get the software that had an OCR capability, which is optical character recognition, right? It was then able to read the invoice, automatically populate everything in the Oracle, and then my teams were able to do a much better job in identifying the fake duplicate invoices which we had to really challenge the suppliers, and we were able to do more work on trends, etc. Previously it was just about getting the invoice in the system and paying. The later part was, how do we make our AP more efficient, finding better deals, etc. Right? So the jobs will go, but not the ones that add value. I'm so sorry I keep bringing the conversation back to the values, because I'm telling you that's what I as a CFO also look for. I will only and only do things that adds value to my business. Anything else is a no-no for me.
Completely agree. I think that's really well put and very honest. Thank you so much, Zaheer, for that answer. We have one last question, if I can add that. I'm a hybrid student in computing and business, also an ACCA student, with the wish to bridge both the fields. Okay, wanting to bridge both the fields. Any thoughts or advice on that? Anybody? Platform is open.
Do you want to go, Tom?
Okay. So to me, it sounds like from a starting point, I think you're on the right trajectory, right? If I listen what you are studying right now, that seems the place to be. But again, don't think it's over when you've completed your studies, right? It's not. It's a continuous learning thing after that. But I think you, with these studies right now, I think you're positioning yourself really well to play an important role in this area.
Thank you so much, Tom. Any add-ons, Zaheer, on this?
Yeah, I think, look, Nicolette, because I'm an ACCA myself, and I teach ACCA. So I can tell you there are lots of areas where you will be able to use your business or your computing understanding with what ACCA teaches you. There is a paper called Strategic Business Leadership. It is about how you leverage all of these various or different types of topics and then become better at what you do, right? So just keep ensuring that whatever you learn on the business side of it, for example, you are studying risks, and then you understand in ACCA what these risks can have an impact on the financials, right? So always try to marry them. Don't put them in a separate silo that, oh, this is completely different, that is completely different, right? It is your job to figure out and marry them every time, right? That's the only way you will be able to justify your roles in future.
Thank you both. I think we're done with our questions. We've answered all our questions. Any more questions? Okay, Anjali is thanking us and Shekhar is thanking us. I think this has been genuinely a very insightful session for all of us. I would love to thank both of you for taking the time out on a Saturday afternoon with us. And this has been so informative. This has been so mind-opening, because I think these are things we have questions with and we don't know who are the right people to answer. And this is the initiative. The whole goal of this session was to keep this open platform for people to ask their questions, to share their concerns, and to bring this up. We have a message from Nicolette, which is, I will never stop learning. So I think that's the gist here from our whole panel discussion. You will continue your academics, you will continue your training. Of course, keep an open mind, because that will have to marry the AI that is trending in the market. You will have to keep an open mind to learn courses, to pick up things which interest you, which match your field, and of course, things that are coming up in the market, because AI is going to be growing day by day. I would like to thank both of you personally. Thank you so much for your time, Tom, Zaheer. You've taken this to share such valuable insights with our students, and I'm sure they've learned so much. They will contact you if they need any further assistance on this. We're also keeping a small questionnaire or a feedback form for this webinar. So as you're ending the meeting, you will find this small pop-up for the webinar questionnaire, which will give your feedback of how did you find this webinar, any inputs, whether it was useful, whether there are suggestions. Also, we're adding the next webinar topics. We have 3 options. So it's your choice. You could vote for the one that you feel is what you want to hear about, and we'll bring this up ready for you in the next session. So please take the time out to take the 2 seconds to fill that up. So we kind of come up with a topic based on everybody's requirement, and we bring that up for you in the next session. we've had a wonderful afternoon. I think this has been time well spent. We have a message from Ritika, which is thank you so much, Tom and Zaheer. Very well spent Saturday afternoon. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone.
Thank you so much for
Great.
taking this time out. And this has been really, really wonderful masterclass for all the finance professionals. And I believe this is going to be really informative for everyone who's watching. Our session will be recorded and you will find this session on YouTube after this is done. So if you missed something or if there's something that you want to revisit, please go to YouTube, Cravea account, and you can check this out. Thank you so much,
Great.
Zaheer. Thank you so much, Tom. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend. And we should be meeting you very soon once again for another seminar like this and share your valuable insights once again with us.
Thank you, everyone.
Very
Thank
much.
you so much. Speak
Thank
soon
you.
then. Bye, Prerna. Bye, Tom.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.